Hello, councillors. In the absence of the mayor, I will chair the meeting this evening. The time being 6:50, I declare the ordinary council meeting of 13th August 2024 open. Persons in the gallery are advised that under the Local Government Act 1993, a person may not tape record proceedings of a meeting of a council or committee without the authority of the council or committee. Tape record includes a video camera and an electronic device capable of recording speech. Mobile phones must be turned off so as not to disrupt the meeting. Anyone, including councillors, found using a mobile phone will be told to leave the meeting immediately and for the duration of the meeting. An audio recording of this meeting will be taken for minute-taking purposes as authorized by the Local Government Act 1993. This meeting is live streamed on council website to allow the community to follow council debates, discussions without the need to attend the meeting in person. Members of the public attending or speaking at the meeting agree to have their image, voice, personal information, including name and address recorded and publicly broadcasted. Strathfield Council does not accept liability for any defamatory remarks or inappropriate comments that are made during the course of a meeting. Any part of the meeting that is held in closed sessions will not be streamed. Councillors and members of the gallery, please note that the microphones are extremely sensitive and will record all sounds in the room. The mayoral diary for August 2024 and expenses claimed by all councillors has been tabled for the information as per Resolution 147/19. Councillors, in accordance with the mandatory provision of the Model Code of Conduct, I remind councillors of the obligation to which you sworn by taking the oath or affirmation in that you will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities, discriminations vested under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of your knowledge and ability. Moment of reflection. May I ask everybody to stand, please? We pray that our deliberations today will be objected and decisions are impartial and made for the benefit of the whole community. Recognition of traditional custodians. Let us begin by acknowledging the Wongal people, the traditional custodians of the land on which we stand today. We pay respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Apologies and leave of absence. The Mayor Council Pennsylvania has sent an apology for today's meeting. Are there any further apologies, councillors? Now we'll move on to disclosure of interest. I would like all the councillors to state it clearly, nature of interest to be disclosed. I don't have any disclosure of interest for today's meeting. Councillor Maheshwaran.
I'll be declaring a bill in order in respect of PE1, council submission to the Homebush Todd. I'll be declaring a non-pecuniary significant conflict of interest in that, despite it only being a submission. And the nature of the interest is that I currently act in my professional capacity for a charity that is engaged in litigation, and where I previously declared that conflict of interest is a pro bono engagement that is now paid engagement. The director of that charity is also a director of a company owning land nearby to the corner of Underwood Road and Olympic Drive, which falls within the scoping area covered in the submission. And I've previously acted for companies within his directorship and potentially ownership. So that's the nature of the interest in P1. So I'll be leaving the chamber for that. In respect of P2, that is the draft electrical vehicle charging infrastructure policy, I previously declared a non-pecuniary, non-significant conflict of interest in respect of that item because the council paper at that time mentioned a company, Jolt Pty Ltd, which a close personal friend was involved in a management role. While this particular paper doesn't mention that company, nor does that friend work at that company, I will still declare a non-pecuniary significant conflict of interest in respect of that item. In respect of PE4 and PE6, I have not reviewed those items, either in the papers provided to me or the papers attached to this booklet. But suffice to say, there is some potential that the same conflict arising in P1 may arise in those items. And having not actually read the policies, I will declare a non-pecuniary significant conflict of interest and leave those items as well. Those are my conflicts.
Councillor Chai.
I may have conflict of interest with item PE1. The only reason that my residential address, my dwellings, was located in the zone, so I may be, stay outside when I talk about this one. Thank you.
Councillor Hall.
I will declare a non-pecuniary significant for PE1, an organisation of which I have a relationship lease with property in the Homebush area, and I will be leaving the room.
Thank you, councillors. Confirmation of minutes. We'll do acknowledgements. I have an acknowledgement. First of all, I would like to acknowledge our General Manager and all the directors for supporting us throughout our term. This is being our last meeting for this term, and thank you for your support. And I would like to thank my fellow councillors as well. It's been a wonderful term, being with you, learning from you, having discussions with you. And a special thanks to David for keeping up with our amendments and changes every second minute. So thank you for everything. Thank you for your support, guys.
All the staff, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I suppose we should all do a little bit of an acknowledgement for 1 minute, right? Since this is the last meeting of our term. And we don't know who's going to be back next term. Just get your forms in. I would also like to, let me start with Madam Chair for today. It's been an absolute privilege getting to know yourself and getting to know Mr. Maheswaran. See, after the 3 years, I got the name right. I struggled with it in the first year. So, and of course, my running mate, Councillor Benjamin Kai. It's been a real pleasure to get to know you guys, because I really didn't know you guys before. So it's been it's been a fantastic time, especially the last year. We have had an absolute ball. Thank you for the staff. I can't remember all the names because so many of you are new, but thank you so much. Can I name Christy a special thank you? Christy has been so patient with all the conflicts and everything to balance them, and your help has been truly appreciated. You're the only one I'm going to cry for. Mr. GM, what can I say? When we picked you, I always knew it was the right decision. You've done a great job. Big job, big job, but you've done a really good job. And I look forward to hearing amazing things about this team in the following years. So thank you so much. And to the residents, thank you so much for your support in electing me for a second term. I really appreciate, the residents supporting me as much as you have. It's been overwhelming, and I hope that I have done as good as I possibly can. And all the best, and good luck for the next term, everybody.
You're back.
Councillor Hesburn, do you have an acknowledgements?
Are we doing the staff acknowledgement, or I've got other acknowledgements?
Whatever you feel like.
Acknowledging the misinformation campaign relating to the Stratford Council rate rise. Over the course of last week, residents in the area have received a robocall. It does not specify who is paid for or authorise what purports to be polling of residents. The poll asks, would you be more or less likely to vote for the existing council given the rate rise? The mobile phone number that's been used is one that's related to spam calls across the country. The poll then asks residents for their opinions on a number of candidates for election. From what has been reported to me, this appears to be push polling. It's an extraordinary step to take in a local government election, and an extraordinarily expensive step to take. The purpose of push polling is to colour the impression of a voter rather than genuinely ascertain information. For example, if there was a poll in which we say Councillor X once engaged in a series of explicit conversations with a 14-year-old girl, including asking whether she quote-unquote knew how to touch herself, and then asked, would you be more or less likely to vote for that councillor, the results would be obvious. Well, you would think so anyway. The New South Wales Liberals are back. They've launched their campaign with the Stop Labor rate increase and published a website promising to cut rates and offer more investment into roads and parks. The last council was dominated by an alliance between the Liberals and the Stratford Independents. Under that leadership, council increased garbage levies by almost 50%. We slashed them. They say they will increase spending on parks, roads and footpaths. In their last year, being mayor, they decreased capital spending by $7 million, almost 30%. In their last year, council entered into an operational deficit. If we continue on this path, council would be bankrupt in a number of years. When these financial accounts were presented to council in the last term, the Labor councils refused to accept them. It was the Liberals and Independents that voted to accept them. As soon as we were elected, we called for a complete review of council's assets. What this showed us is that almost $11 million worth of works, crumbling roads, driveways and infrastructure, were hidden away and not allocated in the budget. What's most incredible and astounding is that each Labor councillor present at the time opposed the rate variation when it was introduced. After conferring with Councillor Data, we agreed that we would not support a rate rise until we saw deeper cuts to council expenditure. However, we acknowledged the need for the special rate variation in total. We voted against that variation. It's a rate rise made necessary because the Liberals hid their rate rise in a garbage levy. It's a rate rise necessary because the Liberals underfunded our roads and infrastructure. It's a rate rise that was opposed by Labor, and now they want to call it a Labor rate rise. These type of campaigns work with low information voters. They don't work here. To whoever is running this campaign, I would say take a moment of silent reflection. That's about it anyway.
We'll give you another 2 minutes.
No, I'm done. I got an acknowledgement though.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. I have another one. Got to start the clock. I know, it's terrible. But this is the last council meeting.
Well, in your last acknowledgement, here. Well done.
So, I acknowledge the advisory note against the weaponisation of ICAC complaints. I'd like to acknowledge that a note was sent to all councillors in the state by the Commission, warning against the weaponisation of the Commission for political advantage. Council can be a particularly vicious place. I'd like to add to that note with my own tips about what to do when faced with a false and malicious campaign of innuendo waged by your political opponents. Tip 1, the direct approach. Recently, I was told a young former political lobbyist had been encouraged by a convicted fraudster to run an anonymous flyer in the upcoming council elections against some of the sitting councillors. I sat down with this individual and encouraged him to run a positive campaign, that he had a bright future in front of him and to steer clear of known lies. It was a great interaction. I was saddened to hear a week later about discussions between that person and one of his running mates, the son of a former independent council candidate, about such a flyer formulating. I'm confident this was a blip, and these young council enthusiasts will stay on the straight and narrow. Tip number 2, the legal approach. Since being elected to council, I've received periodically from residents, from my councillor colleagues, from sitting members of parliament, from councillors on other councils, and from journalists, the same phone call saying, Councillor Y was here, and he was saying this about you. Perhaps the most extraordinary moment was when that councillor left the chamber claiming a mental health breakdown, and then called a resident in the public gallery, in that very meeting, to spread malicious gossip. The trick here is to document everything. Ask for statements, ask for people to screenshot and forward instant messages or file note the conversations yourself. Get the precise words that were said. Some people think they can escape defamation law by not committing something to writing in public. This isn't true. It just makes it much harder to prove the precise words that were being said. Once you've taken all these steps, call a defamation lawyer. Other than that, I would say be ready if you want to run for public office for these sort of campaigns to be waged. And I hope in the upcoming election that people do adhere to the rules. And I very much enjoyed reading the advisory note that was circulated. And that's it for me.
Councillor Tata, do you have any disclosure of interest?
Not really, sorry.
Not for this one. Do you have any acknowledgements?
Oh, your last speech. We all gave a last speech for the term.
Just give me 30 seconds.
Councillor Chai, would you like to acknowledge anything?
Yes. In the last nearly 3 years, as a councillor, I think I learned a lot. Not just personally, but many ways, make a lot of friends in the council, and my running mate in the new term, and also our deputy mayor, Sandy Ray, and of course, our councillor Raj Tata, and Councillor Mahasuram. Thank you all, the colleagues. Give me a lot of support in the last 3 years. Also, I would like to thank the management team and also the general manager that we chose. I think we have the right decision to have you. And we also want to thank those directors like Claire Harley, great, and Melissa Malos.
Gee, good with money.
And Christy Watts. And Kathy Edward Davis. It's very helpful, those directors. And the very important thing is that all those directors we found out are ladies. Okay, I think I'm not going to say too much about this journey. It's just a lot to say, but only one word to conclude. That means thank you all.
Thank you, Ben.
Councillor Tata, would you like to say something, or do you want to?
Sure. Okay. This probably is the last council of this term. I'd like to acknowledge some of the good events that I attended over the last weekend. One was I was very delighted to see the science exhibition by Vandana School of Science in Auburn, where the teacher, there are about 50 students, they are talking, showcasing some of the scientific discoveries. Many dignitaries did attend. So it shows that our community is growing and people from diverse backgrounds are coming forward, inspiring our young scientists, building our future generations for all Australians. That was excellent. I also would like to acknowledge the Indian-Australian Idol celebration held in Pennant Hill. It also shows that how communities from diverse backgrounds are coming, joining the mainstream activities, for example, idol, singing, dancing, all of those things. It gives me immense pleasure to see how things have improved over the last 37 years that I have been here. So that was very good to see, immensely satisfied with that. I also attended an event by Centre of Indian Australian Associations for celebrating India's Independence Day, attended by about 400 people, including the Consul General of India. It was an excellent event showcasing the increasing closeness between these two countries and how the bilateral relationship between India and Australia are evolving. That was great. And having lived in Australia and particularly in Strathfield over the 37 years, there is not one street that I have not walked on. When I get a call from someone, and I come from a very multicultural background, not just because of my color. In my family, I've got whites, I've got Chinese heritage, I've got all other heritages. And when somebody calls me, whether it is for a falling tree branch, or whether somebody is talking about having nightmare because that he couldn't sleep or she couldn't sleep because branch is falling, might be falling on a windy night on his roof. I do not see that person as a nameless person. That person could well be my brother, my uncle, my cousin. I do not come here for making a living. I do not come here for a job. If I could not change all those things, there was no point for my being here. So I have pushed as much as I have could. So that has been my basic motivation. And to the end, I also I had a role in employing this person as a general manager. There were some competitions, and I'm very glad that at that time, despite threats, there have been threats on occasions that he was successfully employed, and I do not want to go through the details, but the GM know that some of the times the things that I have faced, but I have done always through the term what is really in the interest of the broader community, without fear or favor. And in doing so, I have received a lot of help from the officers, including the GM. So I thank you, and thank you all the directors who have helped me over these years, and many of these residents I have known for many years. So thank you all who are here or who might be watching for calling me or asking me for help or advising me, giving me guidance. So I have nothing else but gratitude for having the opportunity for serving the council since 2012. I was elected as the #1 candidate in 2012. In 2017, I was also #1 on Labour ticket. 2021, I was also elected. And this year, I'm nominated, but we'll see what happens with all that. That is a future story to come back. And And I definitely acknowledge all of your help, the councillors, and particularly my Labour colleague, Shang and Maheshwaran. Thank you.
I got last part I forgot.
Councillor Chang.
I think lastly, I want to thank all those residents of our community who are supporting me as a councillor, who can, stand here representing today. I think if not their support, if not their, good opinions, how to improve our community, I won't be able to last till today. So thank you all, and also my neighbors. Thank you.
Councillor Ray, or Madam Chair, could I? Yes. It'll be very short.
Yes, Mahesh.
I should say, and I've reflected on the comments around me, that I should say something that's actually of a general nature for the end of the term. While everyone else is saying thank you, I'd like to just apologise for the many occasions where I've been quite difficult. And thank you for your forbearance in that respect, as well as your support, and especially Councillor Data, as well as the Mayor Karen Pensabene, but each of the councillors here and all the council staff. Some comments have been made about the employment of the General Manager. I'm not sure if they're appropriate, but I would reflect that it's one of the best decisions of this council. It really has been, and all the decisions flowing from that have been substantially better for the residents in this area, and I mean that very sincerely. So I'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you. I'd also say that at times when I have appeared to be a vicious attack dog that's come to the chamber just to maul people, I do reflect on that as part of my job. Sometimes. And different people get sent to council for different purposes, and I felt that the mandate that was given in the 2021 election was one of serious reform in this council and to ask serious questions, and that's what I regard my job to be. Different councillors are sent here by different constituencies, and I felt that's what my constituency had asked for, and that's what I hope to have delivered. But with that being said, there may have been hurt feelings in between. They've made terse words, but with that being said, there's been a lot of fond memories. And thank you all, and especially thank you, Councillor Data, for your kind words.
Thank you.
This is the last opportunity of the term. No, I don't know whether Mayor Pensabene is watching. She is. Mayor Pensabene, you have done an amazing job. I have been very proud that that way. So we started our journey, I think, in 2012, and you got to be mayor, and I'm very proud of you, and you've done a great job. Good luck in next term, and all the best, and I will see you around. As for the current deputy mayor, you've been put in the hot spot a couple of times in the chair, and you've done a great job. And for all those that have been deputy mayor, and for yourself, you've done a great job. This term, I decided not to do the deputy mayor and let the new guys do it, so I'll be watching you guys for mayor next term. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. As we've finished all our acknowledgements, now I move on to confirmation of minutes. Ordinary Council Meeting 2023, July 2024. Council meeting. Can I have a mover and a seconder for the minutes? Councillor Hall, mover, and seconded by Councillor Datta. Can I have a show of hands in those in favour of the motion, please? For the minutes. Carried forward, unanimous. Councillors, I have a mayoral minute. It's in front of you. In the absence of the mayor, may I have a mover and the seconder for the mayoral minutes? Councillor Datta, moved by Councillor Datta and seconded by Councillor Hall. Is that the mayor?
Supplementary?
Yeah. It's a 110th birthday celebration.
110.
Australian Red Cross 110th birthday.
The mayoral minute.
Page 22.
Oh, right, sorry, I thought you said a new mayoral minute, sorry about that. I was looking for a new one, yeah, got
May
that.
I have the show of hands, councillors? Carried forward, unanimous. Items by exception, councillors. In accordance with section 13 of Council Code of Meeting Practice, items can be dealt with by exception and they can be adopted as recommended by a single motion. I move that the following items dealt with by exception. Notice of motions, 10.1, review of management policy, by exception. Proposal of Strathfield Bay Run along with Cooks River, by exception. Legal advice for the amendments of council meetings, by Councillor Hall, by exception. Adequate remuneration for local government representatives, Councillor Sharangan Maheshwaran, by exception. 10.4. 10.5,
I think we will take it out.
I'll withdraw for 10.5, Madam Chair.
you would like to withdraw to 10.5. Councillor Hall, do you want to pull out 10.4?
I think we should.
Okay, we'll take it out. 1, 2, 3. Councillor Maheshwaran, are we withdrawing 10.5 altogether?
Actually, if 10.4 is coming in, 10.5 should stay in. So I'll move 10.5. Thank you.
So you want to
Yes, we'll continue on with 10.5.
you want to withdraw on 10.4?
No, we'll keep it.
No, you will keep it. And 10.5, do you want to still keep it?
Yes, please, thank you.
Okay. Councillors, do we do 10.5, naturalizing of Cooks River by exception?
It's my last favour. Yeah, leave it in.
Yeah, by exception. Rate variation and infrastructure communications, councillors, 10.6 by exception.
Yes.
CCS1, current status of council resolution,
By exception?
page 52, by exception.
Yes.
CCS2, page 60, tenders advertised and awarded, July 2024, by exceptions.
Yes.
CCS3, council workshop, 6th August 2024, page 61, by exception.
Yes.
CCS4, councillor workshop, 7th August 2024, page 65.
Yes.
CCS5, request for a report to establish new friendship cities, page 67, by exception.
Yeah.
CCS6, council protocol,
Yeah.
out. CCS7, amendments of minutes for council meeting on 6th December 2022 and review of minutes for council meeting 7 March 2022 and 7 March 2023 and council workshop 14 May 2024. By exception?
Please.
CCS8, investment report July 2024, by exception.
Yes.
CCS9, draft customer experience CX strategy, by exception.
It is now.
Councillor Hall,
Yes. Stay in.
staying. Okay.
I've seen the changes, they're good.
councillors, we can't include PE1 because of the conflict of interest. PE2, draft electrical vehicle charging infrastructure policy.
Madam Chair, I've declared a conflict on that as well.
It has to come out. PE3, building certification by exception.
Yes.
PE4, draft infrastructure contribution plan. It'll have to come out because of the conflicts. PE5, delegation to general manager. It has to come out because we need to vote on it. PE6, draft planning proposal, PE7, Hudson Park Golf Driving Range, extension of hours update by exception. EO1, automated external defibrillator in Stratfield by exception.
Yes.
Councillors, can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Datta, seconded by Councillor Maheshwaran. Can I have a show of hands to the motion to by exception, items by exception? Unanimous, carried forward. For the public forum, we have one speaker registered today to address the meeting. Speakers are reminded that they have 3 minutes to address, and there is a 2 minutes extension can be provided on request. Mr. Kurt Cornell has requested to speak in the open forum about zoning changes regarding the new transport-oriented development program. Mr. Kurt, would you like to speak?
Madam Chair, just before we proceed, I recently reviewed the Code of Conduct and understand on public forum matters you are required to actually declare a conflict of interest. I just say that non-pecuniary, non-significant conflict of interest, which is Mr. Kirk is, I believe, a member of the local Labor Party unit, and I know him through that. I only recently became aware of this obligation, so that's all.
Stand up.
Yes, could you come to the middle of the chair?
Hi everyone, I just wanted to touch on the Todd Homebush Master Plan and put forward a request for council to support the rezoning and lifting of the conservation area to Welfare Street and Flemington Road. The state government seems to have missed this in their recommendation, and we feel that it would complement the high target of the 12,500 additional dwellings which is set by the National Housing Accord. The immediate area around these two streets has been severely built up with the introduction of the new factories. In some extent, pretty much nearly on top of some of the residents. And we feel that it's no longer suitable for standalone dwellings and more suitable for in line with the master plan. We feel that it's not in line with council's committed delivery of well-designed and livable neighbourhoods with what's been previously approved with the factories and all of the commercial area around it. The reduction in sunlight to some of the residents because it's been built up so close is that severe that their grass isn't growing. And I know that on the supplementary report, one of the key issues is traffic impacts. The traffic now in such a narrow street is so horrendous that it's really unsustainable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kurt. Now we'll deal with the notice of motions. We'll go to 10.4. Councillors.
I lodged a request to speak at the night's meeting this morning by email.
Yes. Mr. David Starr, yes, you can come and speak.
Thank you. Sorry, my voice is going, but my question to the council, my situation is about compliance matters, and it's mainly around building issues. For those unaware, I was a representative, as a community representative for 6 years on the planning committee for Strathfield, so I'm fully aware of all the situation the council faces with compliance. But with the amount of building taking place in the area, I'm greatly concerned at the disregard of certifiers, builders and developers for regard to resident safety and welfare. I'm equally concerned as to whether the Ranger, and I don't know whether the Ranger is all this, so maybe other people, but obviously the Ranger, are on top of policing the conditions imposed and the general housekeeping on building in Strathfield. I'm constantly raising issues with the council over plain disregard by developers. I'm not concerned about inconvenience, safety and the welfare of residents, especially even some of their neighbours. I'm just going to list some of the matters that I brought to the council's attention. It's never ending. I know I'm a PIA, for those people who understand what that is. And now that you've got a phone, you can walk around and take photos. So I do a lot of walking. An instance would be 27 Newton Road. Some time ago there was some work where the road was completely open, straight across the whole road. The people that came along and repaired it, whoever did it, did a pretty bodgy job. And for the next week, people drove through it, damaging the front wheels of their car and the rest of it. It was subsequently repaired, but it's still going to need work. These are the sort of things, whoever did it, why wasn't it picked up before this? Broken footpaths are a common thing in the area, and driveways. Particularly at the moment in Barker Street, there's a major development, and what they've done to fix up the crack and all the rubbish, they just threw down some grass across it, and actually all the mud and slush around it. Damaged gutters. There was an issue in Newton Road which I had to take up with the council, where there's a major development there, massive damage to the curb and gutter. So if you pulled your car up there, you would have opened the door and damaged it. Eventually that was fixed. However, they didn't fix up the road. Blocking of footpaths, nature strips and even roadways. This is one of my big gripes. There's an issue at the moment I reported in the last day or two, 49 Shortland Avenue, where they put up the protective hoarding around the perimeter while they're building. Oh no, they don't leave it there. They then leave it, take up the footpath, then they take up the nature strip, and now they're onto the road. I mean, why isn't people picking this up? This is just ridiculous. It's on the roadway, and Shortland Avenue gets a lot of traffic with the St Pat's School. Constantly, the rubbish being put in the wrong bins. I spoke to the mayor and one of the council officers last year.
Then we have an additional 2 minutes.
I spoke to the mayor last year about the situation is that why do we keep rubbish bins on building properties? Why don't we remove them? The builders don't adhere to it. They put rubbish in them all the time, the wrong stuff. I bought up one in Howard Street where there's all electrical equipment put in the yellow bins. I mean, this is adding to our cost, and eventually what it does, it's adding more and more to our cost all the time. The builders don't care about it. Disregard for the council tree policy. What a joke. What an absolute tree policy. We had a situation at 138 Barker Road where the trees were killed, and I'd never got an answer whatever happened. The tree is now, 2 trees, beautiful trees, have been removed. And in the meantime, at all stages, I had to remind the people, the council, there was no protective thing around the trees on the property. If you look at their conditions of approval, it would have been there, but nobody does anything about it. The safety fencing is never in place. You can go around most of the buildings. Just where I live in Newton Road, there are 4 within almost a stone's throw, and constantly the fences are down and not replaced. Adjoining residents must go through hell, and in some cases they're not advised of these developments. Who is the responsibility of advising people when there's development taking place? If it's not the council, if it's supposed to be the certifier, it doesn't happen. I had a place built opposite me a couple of years ago, and I had to come to the council and request, well, how do I go to find out what's been built? We've got another instance in Newton Road, and talking to a resident, where the same thing, a house was knocked down and cleared in the last few days. They have not been advised of what the development is. So when I talk about compliance issues, what's going on? There's no safety with the demolitions. Another place was demolished in the last 24 hours and had asbestos and dust. And if you saw the bloke standing there with a hose, it wouldn't have put out anything. It wouldn't have dampened the noise or the dust or whatever. The mud and dirt over the road. They've just done an extension down in Pemberton Street. If you see all the mud about the roundabout on the corner, it's not there now, on the corner of Newton and Pemberton Street, but the people are bringing up loads of dirt. They don't care where they drop it. It falls off the trucks. Nobody comes and cleans it up. Lucky we've had a bit of rain. Cement and water is a typical thing. You see them washing the trucks and they're supposed to take it away. It doesn't. It comes down the gutter. I mean, sometimes there's situations you can go along and you can see the markings in the gutters where the concrete's been. That's all. You know where that's going? Going straight into Cooks River. Great thing. We want to keep the Cooks River clean, and here we are letting this happen. And on top of that, they're also pumping water from the sites, muddy water, straight into the gutters. So I just, you know, these people work outside the hours. They don't stick the hours on the days. What's in the approvals they're given? Water running across the footpath. You can walk down Newton Road. There's some big constructions there in Newton Road, as an instance, where there's water every day. Not the rain now. Water leaking out across the footpath. Do they care? No. Stupid thing to say this, but there's a place, they've just got a new footpath in Barker Road, and can you believe it? They've just knocked down the house. They're having construction being put there now, and we just renewed the footpath. What a waste of money. So the safety of the residents has been ignored. The cost of the council, if there's an accident, it'll be pretty big. I don't feel our interests as residents are protected. An action and response sometimes when you ring up or you send an email, I think is too slow. I don't want to hear it's going to take 5, 6, 10 days. That's too late. And the other thing which I find poor, when we talk about communications, council never gives you any feedback. It'd be nice to get a phone call. I did get feedback the other day on an issue to do at Hudson Park, where one of the staff has phoned me and said they're doing a review or something. I appreciate that. I'm interested in this area. I served on this council, and I'm very passionate about Strathfield and what it represents. But I want to see our things protected. I want to see the community protected. So I think we have got a bit of Rafferty rules going on in terms of when I talk about compliance, particularly with all the building things going on. I'd like to see an improvement from the council. And if what I've said, I can give you my rough notes, but if somebody can come back to me and show me in a report that some of these things are going to be fixed, I'd be greatly appreciated. I'm getting rather tired of having to ring and send emails to this council. I don't need to do it through you councillors. If I can't send it and I can't see action, I'm disappointed at the council and the council staff not doing their job. So I'd like to receive a report and how these matters can be addressed. Thank you. And again, congratulations to the councillors and the staff. I'm sure that a lot of them are going to be rejoicing when some of you move on.
Thank you. Councillors, moving on to notice of motions. 10.4. May I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Maheshwaran, seconded by Councillor Chai. Do we have a discussion? Councillor Hall.
Okay, so going back, probably about 12 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I remember the state government talking about increasing the remuneration for councillors to quite a substantial amount, and that councillors be paid, you know, on a full-time basis. I didn't approve of the idea back then, and sticking to my values now as a councillor, even though, yes, the remuneration is very, very, very low, I still believe that it is something that you do. You become a councillor because you are passionate about your residents, your area, and the values that the residents want you to represent for them. And if as Councillor Maris-Warren suggested that there's a lot of nastiness that goes on during elections, imagine the nastiness that would happen if people were getting paid some of these, you know, these $100,000, these, you know, astronomical amounts. My goodness gracious me! I mean, now it's the attacks on $21,000 that councillors get. Imagine if the amount was 100,000. So I won't be voting for this, because I am going to stick with what I believed in back 10 years ago, and I do believe that it should be almost a volunteer position. I still believe that, and that's why you do it, because you're passionate about your area, you're passionate about your residents, and you're passionate to represent the values of your residents. So, my apologies.
Chair. Happy for me to speak.
Yes, Councillor Maisha.
I should say, I drafted this motion. One thing I've tried to keep tightly guarded is whether I will recontest or not. And the only reason for keeping that rather ambiguous is because I know that there's a particular person that is driven literally insane trying to contact everyone he knows to find out if I'll run again. But the cat will be out of the bag tomorrow, which is I won't run, because I will be moving to Austin, Texas to take up the job. And that gives you some latitude to do things without being accused of being self-interested. It strikes me that while, yes, a lot of the remuneration for being a councillor is not financial, but rather it's in goodwill and the fact that it's an enjoyable task to undertake. For people that do give up full-time employment or any form of remuneration so they can focus on their job as a councillor, they ought not to be barred from becoming a councillor by the mere fact that they can't afford it. Without commenting on individuals here, I'd say that generally speaking, the other councillors here bring skills and experience to the job, developed over a lifetime of experience, but they also have independent means developed over a lifetime to be able to support doing something like being a councillor. That doesn't apply for someone who's younger. That doesn't apply for someone who can't make this, can't afford to have a part-time occupation. And I'd go further and say it's a matter of equity, that if you do give up your employment, that you ought to be paid a reasonable wage to undertake this job. You ought not to have it if you don't do this as a full-time role. And the only other thing I'd say to it is that council has changed. The matter is that it is the regulator for a multi-billion-dollar industry. It manages a much larger sum of money in a more complex area, and you need to be able to attract people that have the skills and experience required. And I think Councillor Hall said, well, look at the level of competition or viciousness that goes around the small sums that are given to councillors. Well, I'd say it's a particular type of vicious idiot that's willing to hang around and for that small amount of remuneration, if they're not remunerated in other ways, through doing a public service. And if it's paid more, you'll attract a better calibre of people. And that's not casting aspersions on anyone here. So that's all I have to say about it. And I also say that I know the Deputy Mayor is sitting in the big chair today. And part two of this is that perhaps we should remunerate the Deputy Mayor such that the Deputy Mayor may undertake the job of the Mayor from time to time and take the burden off them. So that's it.
Is there any other debate, councillors? Can I have a show of hands for the motion? All in favour? All against? 3-2. I declare the motion carried forward. Councillor CCS5, request for a report to establish new friendship cities. May I have a mover? Councillor Hall, seconded by Councillor Chai.
Yeah. I'd like to make an amendment to this one. Well, while it's on its way. So as we read the report, and we were given quite a substantial report at the workshop, which was excellent. Friendship cities are not the same as sister cities. Sister cities are formal. You visit each other. They can be a little bit costly every time you go visit there or they visit here. Friendship cities are really, as friendship cities, they're almost like pen pals. And so they represent a part of your community. And while I have been here and being of Italian origin, I thought I'd like to create a pen pal for the many, many, many Italians that do live here in Strathfield. So I thought now Taormina, Taormina is one of the most beautiful cities. I believe that there was a movie made about it last year. It's quite it is by the sea. We're not by the sea, but we are the oasis. We are called the oasis. So it's a really beautiful city. And as for Fujian in China, again, another representation of the residents that we have here in Strathfield. And in the next term, other people can put in, suggest some other friendship cities that represent the community. But we're just starting off with these two. And like I said, it's not a, visit, with very costly visitation here, there, and visits, one to another. It really is more like a pen pal and to get to know the one council area to another council area. I was happy to go and visit actually the councils while I was in Italy last year. So that was interesting, and they were very happy to. Oblige. So if we can start the process off with some pen paling and with minimal amount of money. That's basically it.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councillor Mash. Yes, Councillor.
The amendment is, and I have it in writing, but it's a very simple network amendment, which is to insert as number 3 the city of Kiwi Rock in West Papua. And I can speak to the amendment if you like.
Yes, please, Councillor.
Kiwi Rock is a small town just across the border with Papua New Guinea. It's in the beautiful highlands of West Papua. And regrettably, and I've been working with a number of other people to visit there and draw attention to the carpet bombing of that area by the Indonesian government using drones and grenades, as well as potentially white phosphorus. And I thought it'd be one of those places, while we've named 2 very beautiful places for councillors to visit, that councillors might draw attention to it by including it in their list of potential friendship cities. It's something I considered doing when this first came up, but it would actually be something that would be hugely beneficial to people there that are currently hiding in the hinterlands around the city as Indonesian snipers wait to pick off farmers as they come to their town and egret from their town. It sounds like I'm doing my normal sort of comedy routine in this chamber, but if you included it in the list, it would actually make a great deal to the people that live there to even acknowledge their existence.
Councillor Hall, Councillor Chai, do you accept the amendment?
Just a question. As you know, through the Madam Deputy Mayor, as you know, what Councillor has already said, that that's only a small town. Are they a small town or a city? If only a small town, maybe it's not adequate.
If I could respond, Kiwi Rock is one of the largest population centres in West Papua, not Papua New Guinea. And it is one of the largest population centres in West Papua, which means that it's a small town. West Papua. West Papua is the part, Papua New Guinea is the former Australian colonial possession. West Papua is the other half of that island.
Councillor Hall, Councillor Chai, do you accept the amendment?
Sure.
Are there any more discussions, Councillor?
Can we just change the right to a WRITE?
Can I have show of hands for the motion, please, councillors? Unanimous, carried forward. CCS 6, Council Protocol. May I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Datta, seconded by Councillor Hall. Councillor Hall, would you like to speak to it?
I just have an amendment for that one. And the amendment the amendment was to clause 10 of the protocol. Otherwise, the motion stands. It's just a change to clause 10.
Councillor Hall, could you please read out what the change is? Because our audience online cannot see the screens.
Okay, so I'm proposing that clause 10, not 1010, just 10, read as follows. Mayoral letters from the Mayor in their official capacity are to display images of the Mayor only where appropriate. Operational communications to residents, for example, letters that inform them of traffic implications for an event, will come from council staff and not return images or names of councillors or the Mayor. and we're adding councillors. Councillors shall be emailed copies of the general operational communication for their information only. And then the last paragraph, it's just general council communications, including all policies for exhibitions, upcoming events, e.g. printed and e-newsletter will contain images and names of all councillors.
Councillor Tata, are you okay with the amendments?
Accepted.
Are there any further discussions on this motion, councillors?
No, just, where the last paragraph should be newsletters, should be e-newsletters, printed and e-newsletters. Yep. That's it.
Councillor Hall, General Manager would like to ask for some clarifications.
Role reversal. Thank you, Madam Chair. Could I, maybe for the benefit of the staff, could I just get some clarification on what general operational communication means? Because that could be quite broad
It could be, yes.
and cumbersome.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, so why don't we put, so it was actually referring to the previous paragraph, operational communications to residents. So I should, so things like, for example, communication that goes out to the residents about a change in the timed parking. It would be good if councillors could get an email of that correspondence so we've got it on record, rather than having a phone call and somebody saying, we got a letter about the change time parking, and we haven't seen the letter, even though we might know about it, we just haven't seen exactly what's in the letter all the time, that, you know, they have to do submissions. So if councillors could get a copy of it by email, not hard copy, just an email, that way councillors are notified that this has gone out to residents, and when they get a phone call, they can say, oh yes, I've seen the letter, and yes, these are the dates, you know, these are what's in the letter. Basically that. So do you want to, put operational communications to residents, including, okay, cool. Thanks. Thanks for that.
Are there any more discussions, councillors? No? Can I have show of hands for the motion, please? Unanimous, carried forward. CCS 7, amendment of minutes for council meeting on 6 December 2022 and review of minutes for council meeting 7 March 2022 and 7 March 2023 and council workshop 14 May 2024.
Madam Chair.
May I have a mover for the motion, councillors? Moved by Councillor Maheshwaran, seconded by... May I have a seconder, councillors?
Sheer attention. I was going to move to amend the second because we deferred.
We need a seconder or else the motion will be lapsed.
Happy with that?
Can I ask a question?
Councillor Datta?
Yeah, the question I'm asking is that the minutes, so that the declaration of the interest charge...
Councillor Datta, the motion hasn't opened yet. We have a mover. Would you like to second the motion?
Before I second it, I want some question. I'm fully understanding what you mean.
Okay, give me 1 second. Is it?
Madam Chair, I'd just like to note that I'd like to withdraw proposing the motion. So you'd have to find a seconder and a mover. So 2 seconders. That's moved. A mover and a seconder.
You would like to move and you would like to...
No, I'd like to, I indicate I'd like to move it. I no longer wish to move it.
You don't like to move it? Councillors, do we have a mover? No? Okay, I'll declare the motion has lapsed.
PE1, we have to go.
Councillors, now we're gonna go to PE1, councillors with a conflict of interest. Could leave the room. For the item number PE1, the council doesn't hold the quorum, so we declare the PE1 as lapsed.
Just wait till they come in and just announce that.
Welcome back, councillors. As there was no quorum for item PE1, the item has lapsed. The next item is PE2, draft electrical vehicle charging infrastructure policy. May I have a mover? Councillors?
This one is okay.
Moved by Councillor Chai. May I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Datta. Are there any discussions? Okay. I put the motion to vote. May I have the show of hands in favor of the motion? Carried unanimous, carried forward. PE4.
PE3?
4.
Oh, sorry.
We better go and get.
You have to wait.
Next time. You can adjourn for 10.
Councillors, we are going to adjourn for 10 minutes. We don't need to adjourn any further because Councillor Chai is back. PE4, Draft Infrastructure Contributions Plan. Councillors, may I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Datta, seconded by Councillor Chai. Councillors, is there any discussion? No? Can I have a show of hands for the motion? Unanimous, carried forward.
Sharangan can come back in for this one.
Councillor Maheshwaran can come in. PE5, Delegation to General Manager regarding Council submission. Councillors, may I have a mover
Chair.
and a seconder?
PE5 not related to PE1 and PE1 lapse for one quorum?
Yes.
Through you, Madam Chair, as we anticipated that there might not be a quorum knowing your past conflicts, the next steps would be to provide delegation to the General Manager to enable for the submission to progress. So that would enable you to vote on that, on just the delegation to the General Manager, so that we can continue as planned.
And for abundant caution, I'll declare the same conflict of interest that I had in PE1, and we'll be leaving the room.
You don't have to, but it's up to you, Councillor.
Councillor Maheshwaran, General Manager would like to provide some clarifications.
Councillors, if I could refer you to the report on page 228 and 229. There are special provisions within the Code of Conduct that deal with pecuniary interests where we may find that the council loses a quorum, and they provide specifically for pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests where the council can then make a delegation to a person or another body to then act on the council's behalf. So you're not dealing directly with the submission, you're only dealing with the delegation.
Thank you. I will stay.
Councillors, for PE5, may I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Hall, seconded by Councillor Datta. Councillors, may I have a show of hands in favour of the motion? All in favour, carried forward, unanimous. P. Yep. PE6, draft planning proposal, Strathfield medium density housing strategy. Councillors, may I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Hall. PE6, may I have a mover and a seconder?
Just wondering whether there is if we do the PE1, whether we would have a conflict on this one.
Can the General Manager clarify?
Through you, Madam Chair. So the reason why certain councillors have conflicts when dealing with PE1, which is to do with the Homebush precinct, is the conflict arises because the study area is less than 50% of the LGA. So whilst you have a conflict in that area, it is only because that particular area is less than 50%. This particular strategy allows you to stay in the room because it is dealing with the whole of the LGA. Otherwise, we wouldn't allow councillors to have make any decisions.
Okay. Can I have a mover and a seconder for PE6? Moved by Councillor Datta, seconded by Councillor Chai. May I have show of hands in support? All in favour, unanimous, carried forward. Can we have... There are no reports from committees this month. There are no questions with notice. Are there any matters of urgency, councillors? Confidential matters, nil. So we don't have any confidential matters today. Can I close the meeting, councillors? Time being 8:09. I declare the council meeting has closed.